Let's talk about the battles against seismic surveys on South Africa's coast, which are raging on. Environmental organizations vow to challenge the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy's decision to grant authorization for seismic survey of gas and oil off the west coast. Scientist and environmental activist, in fact, Liz McDaid, is with the Green Connection, one of the applicants that opposed the project from the beginning, with us this evening to talk about where we are at this point. A very good evening to you, Liz. Welcome to the program. So let's go a few steps back for people who have been following this process from the beginning and talk about the risks which have you so worried when this does indeed go ahead.
So I think we even have to go one step back from that, is that sometime, some 10 years ago or more, at some point our ocean was divided up into little blocks and effectively sold off or leased off to oil companies. And from there, the idea, it seems, was to explore our oceans for oil and gas. We obviously are opposed to that, but one of the first steps is to find out if there's oil and gas, and seismic surveys are the way of doing that. And so sometime last year, we became aware that there were a number of applications which had been lodged with the government, and they were now being acted on. So Searcher 1 happened in 2021, and ended up in court with an interdict in 2022, the beginning of 2022, to stop them from just starting their seismic surveys without ever consulting anybody or doing any proper studies to show whether there would be any irreparable harm. And as a result, that court action basically stopped Searcher in its tracks. And what happened in the latter half of 2022, this company called Searcher, which does seismic surveys, then restarted their environmental authorization process. They basically acknowledged they'd done wrong, in our view, and they decided to try and do it properly. So the first step is for them to apply to the DMRE for an environmental authorization, which they have done. And we raised a lot of the issues that were raised in the court papers about the harm to the ocean, and not only the harm to the ocean as a biological system, but the impact that might have on fish and therefore on the livelihoods of people who depend on the ocean. Mm-hmm. And these are the issues that were raised in the commenting period we had on the EIA. The DMRE has approved this authorization, and so now we as the Green Connection and many others are going to be putting in an appeal to Barbara Creasy's department to say why we believe this should not go ahead. Okay,
so as things stand, Liz, you're going to court again, you're taking legal action again. We've seen multiple court challenges of this kind. Has that been effective? Is there not another way, a face-to-face way perhaps between yourselves and DMRE to come to some kind of agreement on how to proceed with these sort of applications?
So just to say it may be that we have this interview in a few months' time where we will be going to court, but at this stage we are just at the appeal stage where we are appealing to the environmental minister to consider the things that we believe that the DMRE did not consider. So that's the first step. But you are completely right. There should be another way around it. So the first thing we would say is there should be a moratorium on any more of these things going ahead until South Africa can actually have a discussion about whether we should be doing this at all in terms of our future as a country, in terms of our economy and our energy. And we haven't had that discussion. So one of the things that we are going to be pushing for in the next few weeks is that we need to have this national level planning discussion. Yeah, we're all in a transition. Who's transitioning from where to where, and who's on board and who's being left behind. So this is the kind of discussion that we should be having at a national level.
So on that conversation then, is your argument that we should not be having this sort of practice at all, or that we should be looking at safer ways to do it that would still then benefit the immediate communities, as some of these companies have argued?
I think what we would be looking at is if we are going to go forward as a country. Which are the energy sources that we should be exploring? Which ones should we be leaving behind, and for what reasons? And then within that, and those discussions include who's going to benefit, what are the economic benefits, what are the financial benefits, who gets them, who loses, who wins. Is there a way to do this that's compatible? And we would argue there is not, but that's fine. Our voice is one voice around the table, but there's no space to have these in-depth discussions at this point.
Liz McDaid, good to have your time. Thank you.